The question of whether one can truly prepare for death is as ancient as human consciousness itself, yet it remains one of the most profound and elusive inquiries of existence. Both existentialism and Zen, though originating from vastly different cultures and traditions, converge on a strikingly similar insight, that the preparation for death is not a mere intellectual exercise or a set of rituals but a deep, transformative way of living in the face of life's ultimate mystery. In the silent dialogue between these two philosophies, we find lessons that challenge the way we perceive death, urging us to embrace it not as a distant event but as a presence that shapes every moment of our being. Existentialism, a philosophy that arose amid the turmoil and disillusionment of the 20th century, confronts death with stark honesty and urgency. Thinkers such as Martin Heidegger, Jean-Paul Sartre, and Simone de Beauvoir illuminated death not as an endpoint to be feared or denied but as an integral aspect of our existence that gives life its depth and meaning. Heidegger's concept of being toward death asserts that authentic existence emerges precisely when we acknowledge our mortality. It is the awareness of death's inevitability that awakens us from the complacency of everyday life, compelling us to live deliberately, to own our freedom, and to create meaning in an otherwise indifferent universe. Death, in this view, is not a problem to be solved but a horizon that defines the contours of our being. This existential preparation for death demands a radical confrontation with the self. It strips away illusions of permanence, forcing us to face the naked fact of our finitude. Yet paradoxically, this confrontation is not a descent into despair but a liberation. By embracing death's certainty, we are freed from the trivial anxieties that clutter our lives and are invited to engage fully with the present. The preparation, then, is not about accumulating knowledge or possessions but about cultivating authenticity, living in accordance with our true values and desires rather than societal expectations or distractions. It is about the courage to face the void without flinching, to accept the absurdity of existence, and in doing so, to affirm life itself. Zen Buddhism, emerging from the contemplative practices of ancient Asia, offers a complementary yet distinct path toward preparing for death. At its heart lies the cultivation of mindfulness and non-attachment, practices that dissolve the boundaries between life and death. The Zen master teaches that death is not separate from life, it is the natural rhythm within the dance of existence. By practicing deep awareness of the present moment, one learns to meet death not as a distant foe but as an ever-present companion. The Zen koan, a paradoxical question or statement, often points directly to this truth, challenging the student to transcend intellectualizing and to experience the immediacy of being. The Zen approach to death preparation involves relinquishing the illusion of a fixed, independent self. The self, in Zen thought, is a fluid process rather than a static entity, constantly arising and dissolving like waves upon the ocean. This insight transforms the fear of death into a recognition of impermanence, the very nature of all things. To prepare for death is thus to practice non-attachment to the self and to all transient phenomena, to cultivate equanimity in the face of change, and to awaken to the luminous present where birth and death interpenetrate without conflict. In both existentialism and Zen, preparation for death is ultimately a spiritual discipline rather than a simple cognitive understanding. It calls for an embodied practice, a way of living that continually returns to the reality of impermanence and the finitude of existence. This preparation can manifest in everyday acts, in the mindful breathing that anchors us to now, in the honest reckoning with our desires and fears, in the choice to live with integrity and compassion despite uncertainty. It is a paradoxical art, to live fully by embracing the certainty of death, yet, this preparation does not promise control over death or transcendence in the traditional sense. Both philosophies emphasize that death remains a mystery beyond full comprehension, a boundary that resists total mastery. The readiness that existentialism and Zen cultivate is a readiness to encounter the unknown with openness and courage. It is a readiness to relinquish control, to surrender to the flow of existence without clinging or aversion, the convergence of existentialism and Zen in their approach to death suggests that preparing for death is less about the future event itself and more about transforming our relationship to life. Death's shadow casts light on the urgency and preciousness of the present moment. To prepare for death is to prepare to live with clarity, authenticity, and acceptance, to find peace not in denial or escape but in facing the profound vulnerability and beauty of being mortal. In this silent communion with mortality, we learn that death is not the opposite of life but its deepest revelation. It strips existence to its barest essence, exposing what is truly valuable beyond superficial concerns. The lessons from existentialism and Zen beckon us to embrace the mystery, to live with fearless presence, and to find, in the face of death, the profound freedom of a life fully lived.